Welcome everybody to the Game Talk Podcast. I am Brimstone. Got my co-host with me, RevTech, and another special guest, which is make a that many appearances here. The gay robot dog himself, the legend, Metroxys. What's going on, man? How's it going? Can you say anything? Have you talked?
Hello, how are you?
There we go. I was muted. I don't know how to technology.
He doesn't technology very much, you guys, so you gotta forgive him. But this is gonna be the first of the topic today. Niantic sues group of alleged Pokemon Go cheaters. Now, I don't know much about Global Plus Plus, but I've only heard a few things here and there over the grapevine about how they created an app that, well, pretty much makes it easy to do whatever they need to do to get through the game. Well, Niantic isn't having any of it. They're saying that this is mostly, well, a lawsuit to really just scare others and deter others from doing this in the future. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I guess I could see their point, but you're not really doing anything in competition. Like the article states, it's not really an esport type of material of game. So is the lawsuit warranted?
I'd probably say yeah, in the sense of they've gone after people before. BlueStacks was actually a long time ago a really popular way to play the game. I know my stepdad did it all the time, where like he would play Pokemon Go and he would walk with the keyboard, but he'd be somewhere in Japan and then they would geo log others' accounts, and when he heard that, he stopped doing it too. So, I mean, when it comes to like all the stuff that goes down with this, it sounds pretty similar.
Yeah. Now, I want to know, like, in the lawsuit, because it's not really saying what it is in the lawsuit and how much they're going for. Are they suing to seize the application? Or are they going to be suing for possible damages? And I use that in air quotes because we both know there's not really any damages going towards their software at all. I mean, I get the point. I do. I get the point. They're trying to make it to where people are going to, like, think about doing this, and then when they see this lawsuit, they're going to be like, okay, it's not worth it. But at the flip side, though, I mean, not everybody has a smartphone still. I mean, you know how many young people that I know that don't have smartphones and all they have is their computer?
I mean, there's a guy at work who literally still uses a flip phone.
Exactly. What about
He's
you?
like mine.
What about you, Rev, with Pokemon Go? Do you think they should sue the shit out of people over their app?
I don't know a lot about Pokemon Go, and so this is not my topic. But
you don't play Pokemon Go every day?
No,
I
don't
play Pokemon
Nope.
Go?
Nope. No desires to either. I'm not gonna sit in a drive-through and wait for a Pokemon to come near me.
See, that's why you gotta do it when you're on the way to someplace. That's what I do. I walk to work.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm on my phone, and then.
But that's why you pay attention. Smart.
Yeah, no. Nah. Pokemon Go does not interest me.
Pokemon Go, I was obsessed with it when it first came out, and I've thought about getting back into it. I really have, actually. I've thought about getting back into it.
And they're copying it too with the Harry Potter shit. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I mean, I love Harry Potter, one of my favorite all-time fantasy-based movie trilogies. But that sounds cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, at least the idea with Pokemon Go works because, like, in like the show, you'd be out and about in the wild, except the wild here is the city, and you'd catch Pokemon. With Harry Potter, I don't see the appeal to it. It's just a shameless cash grab because Pokemon does well. Pokemon brings numbers.
Is
Doesn't matter
Niantic doing the Harry Potter game or no?
I don't think they are. I know Warner Brothers is behind it a lot. They might be doing it, but I mean, I could see them making more money on Pokemon Go than anything else. Because, like I said, Pokemon brings numbers. So.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, to me, I don't really. If Niantic is still making money, which we all know they are, right? They're still cashing in on the kids in high school. They're still cashing in on dudes in my age group that are still playing this game and yours. So I think overall, it's really hard for me to be fully behind this, but considering Niantic, didn't they like wrongfully use Nintendo's property first in order to make the game before getting their consent? Like they actually had to like create the game, get a player base, and then hit up Nintendo like, hey, let's do this. Like they discussed a partnership after the fact. You know what I mean? And I know it's not the same, but I'm thinking of along the lines of acquiring something without working towards it, and that's kind of what they did with Pokemon. The same way, this group, this Global Plus Plus, did with their app. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I'm looking at it, but. I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds for that group. It seems like they put a dossier on the group, like 20 names, I guess, and a few of the other office workers that their names were mentioned that are going to be in the lawsuit. So that's gonna be interesting.
I mean, my thing is it Niantic or is it Nintendo or Game Freak? Because the only people I know who make a big stink about shit.
It's Niantic.
Well, no, like no. You sure? Because a lot of people that I
That's
know
what
make
the
a big
article
stink
said.
about this type of shit.
That's what the article
Is like Nintendo and Game Freak are really heavily protective over like experience and shit. So
It's like I said, it's Niantic. They didn't say anything about Game Freak, and it didn't say anything else about Nintendo. They just said Niantic. It was looking into suing this group. So we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. It's going to be a pretty interesting thing. And along with Pokemon Go, so I guess reports saying on Engadget that Pokemon Sword and Shield is the most least liked Pokemon game ever made. Ever in its history. People, I guess, are hating on it. Like they're just like, no, absolutely not. I thought it looked good. You thought it looked good. I mean,
I like it. But then again, I haven't played Pokemon traditionally since Diamond and Pearl.
Well, they're doing something uniquely different with this game. That's what they are stating. So they're going into a different direction, and I thought it looked good, but you know, we're on the western side of the hemisphere, you know. So
technically, if you look at Sword and Shield, it looks like.
I mean, technically, if you really look into it, I mean, it's not meant for the Japanese audience. It's more meant for the American audience. That's what they're going for.
You're not coming through, Metro, when you were talking. That's probably why he didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that technically, when you look at some of what they've shown, it looks like they're trying to bring back parts of Stadium, and you know all of the original release games. So like you know your crystals and your rubies and stuff like that, but in a more 3D light. So like it kind of reminds me of traditional meets Stadium meets a bit of Coliseum and XD. That's what it looks like to me. Like all my favorite types of Pokemon merged into one. And then like the hint of Pokemon Go with the whole the white Pokeball that turns them big and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have like the Giga Battle, whatever they call it.
True. All right. So
yeah, I also what I mean by the Western audience, you know, Americans, and also you know the European audience too. In a lot of ways, Jack, I do mean that too. It's just Japanese. They want more of that. From what I've been told, they want more of that Pokemon Go action. I mean, they got to please both sides of the board. It's a money making franchise in itself. They can put Pokemon on a brick and sell it, and people would buy it. It's been that way for some time.
Didn't they have Pokemon in a cafe? It's like a cafe game at one point in Japan. It was like this arcade ass game.
Yep.
And people played the shit out of that.
Well, they in Japan they have cafes all over with like certain games, being that cafe's theme. So you could go to you could go to this one that's in I don't remember the damn town. I think it's with the one that the friend of yours is from, Rev. What's his name? Coco Sports. Yeah, Coco Sports. He lives in Japan. And the town that he was in before he moved has a Pokemon, or had a Pokemon cafe there. And they had everything available to play for free as long as you were in there to buy food and drink. They would let you play whatever Pokemon you wanted. You could play
from what I know,
old shit to the new shit today.
For what I know in Japan is they're more on the go, so they like more go stuff on the phone, less stuff. I know the Nintendo Switch is, selling very, very well because
Dude,
it's on the
the
go.
3DS is still their top selling handheld right now.
And
they're still producing games.
and they want to kill it off in America, which makes no sense to me because, they didn't release a new console.
They
if they're going to kill it off.
But I mean, aren't we gonna have 3DS support soon for the Switch?
hopefully, well,
Or
it's a
DS
rumor.
in general?
It's a rumor, but I'm hoping it's real.
It better be real. There better be a slot on like the revised Switch just for it.
They could just have one slot that does both.
That would be nice.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the DS games work on a 3DS, so yeah,
Yeah.
it would work. Yeah,
And they're both kind of alike, the Nintendo Switch and the
And-
they can
and
slim it down.
The Nintendo Switch cartridges are only like a little bit taller than the DS games, but I'm pretty sure the cartridges don't reach all the way to the top of the shell, so they can slim down the shell maybe.
Well, what they can literally do with the Switch. If we're going to talk about the Switch, they can make the screen. They can take those bezels, and they can give you the illusion of a bigger screen, if they wanted to, and they can use that cheap Japanese glass, dragon glass, if they wanted to, instead of that plastic. And they can beef up the CPU just a little bit more for the audience that want 4K. On their
if it runs
system.
1080p, it's fine for me.
I wouldn't mind seeing 1080p 60, running natively, but them trying to push 4K from what I've seen on a tablet, that's gonna be something I haven't seen done before.
And then they're trying to do VR of all things.
Unless you're Apple and you're doing 4K already as it is on the tablet.
so that is interesting. That is interesting.
What they need to fix on the Switch too, one thing, going forward with the Switch, they need to fix the plastic. Make it a little tougher because when the heat hits that tablet, it warms the plastic to where it bends.
Oh yeah, it warps
that's one thing they need to address real quick.
Yeah, it warps the shit out of it.
And they could do like the phone manufacturers do and put some type of liquid cooling in it, like they do the phones, to make it a little cooler.
Yeah, they could. Man. So this next topic is the one that you were talking about just before we started. Sony funds Navi. Do you care to expand on that, sir?
Yeah, supposedly the whole partnership with AMD and Sony goes to, reports are coming out that they put a lot of money into Navi. Here's my thing with it. I get Sony wants to get, on the jump, and they want to make their console as powerful as they can.
Yeah.
I get why Navi GPUs are happening. I now understand. I get a lot of people. I agree to disagree with a lot of people online. Navi is coming in. It's not a Polaris. It's not going to be a Polaris killer. I don't think a lot of us are going to be going out and jumping on that product, a Navi GPU, the 5700. XT. I don't think a lot of us are because the stats are out. They're now showing that the Vega cards are still kicking ass, and if you go out and buy a 56 or a 64 and overclock it slightly, you're getting pretty much what they're offering on the Navi side of things. Navi's good if you're a person that's against the whole ray tracing, but you don't want to go out and buy Polaris, but you want an energy efficient card that runs a little. Yeah. I mean, that's where I see it really, really hitting for the market. I just think AMD priced it a little weird, and that market share they're trying to go for is high ambitions. I think, they want to have a huge jump on the market. But my thing is, if they don't get the third-party companies to come in and make third-party coolers for it, they're dead in the water. They have to sell cards. That's the thing. And I knew why they released Navi to begin with is because, well, they can't bring out a 5800 XT because then you kill that whole what was the reason for the Vega card. And Nvidia, there's rumors going around that they're going to refresh their cards with more gigs of VRAM.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing because they're having reports with the 1660 Ti because it didn't have enough RAM to exercise the DDR6 that they put in there.
Yep.
They were getting black screens and people's games were just cutting out randomly.
Well, the thing is, if AMD wants to capitalize, I feel if they don't sell these cards right out the launch, they're gonna drop it $100.
Yep, and that's where we come in.
And the other thing that I noticed, you can get Vega cards now for like literally $250. $250. You can get a Vega 56 for like literally brand new $250 with 2 games in the whole shebang, and you can get a 64 Sapphire edition with 3 fans for literally $350.
How long have we had our cards, dude? We could like get a refund, right?
They dropped our cards months after we literally bought them. Literally.
It's fine. I love my card. I have no regrets.
The 56 to 64 are going to be around for quite a while. I think AMD made the mistake of, we need to put out this architecture now, and we delayed it long enough, and we need to compete with what's going on with the RTX side.
I think.
And
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to like get this out before I forget. I think it's good that they pushed the new architecture now, so that way by the time we're ready for it, we don't got to experience any of the bullshit.
No, because we'll get the 2nd or 3rd generation. I get what they're doing. They're taking the approach of the Ryzen kind of. They're taking the approach, putting something out there and seeing what fans would do with it, like they did like Ryzen.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryzen was a success. Now
Yes,
this whole and I agree with AMD. I agree on the aspect that they're going where the fans are. A lot of it was a double-ended sword. Some people like ray tracing, some people don't. These consoles are doing ray tracing of some sort, and upscaling to 8K. I just think it was a good move on AMD's part, to kind of be the middleman and kind of give you kind of those features of ray tracing without doing ray.
Yeah.
My whole thing about ray tracing though is like, if we haven't had them now, what's the point of them? Like, cause I've seen videos of like ray tracing on, ray tracing off, and I didn't notice enough of a difference to care.
Well, gamers like yourself are not caring, but the thing is, the market's going that way, and it's kind of like how we had it in the 90s when we had certain features in graphics cards then, and in the early 2000s as well. The thing is, I get what AMD's doing. They're waiting for ray tracing to evolve before they launch a card that has ray tracing cores and all that. NVIDIA is struggling with ray tracing in itself. They banked on tensor cores and whatnot.
Yeah, we kind of all three are, because we're doing this through Discord. That's why. But
Yeah.
I don't really care, because the quality of the video is actually really good. So if it doesn't line up with our mouths and whatever, I don't care. Not a big deal to me.
The thing with AMD is they got to focus this year alone in dropping the price of the Vega. If they could drop that $100, then that's a winner. And get third-party card manufacturers on board. I would love to see Sapphire do a 3-fan edition or a liquid-cooled version. That would be great, and that would get me to buy a Vega 7 hardcore. But Vega 7, for what I've been told and heard, their heat sink is not that great, and it runs hotter with 3 fans.
Yeah, we need, so I already thought about that. If I was going to get a 7, I would have to buy a liquid cooler for it just to use it.
Yeah.
Have to, without a doubt, just because of how much power those things take. And I never understood that either, because they're supposed to be running better than the NVIDIA line, but they still pump just as much power as the day they were overheating. So, I mean, I'm not understanding that too much.
Well, they went 7 nanometer, and then they went graphite with the, instead of using thermal paste, they used a graphite little plate thing that they put on top of the CPU. You can get it by, Thermal Grizzly makes it for CPUs now, where you don't have to use thermal paste and it lasts longer and it doesn't disintegrate or anything like that. I know Gamers Nexus did a video on those, and they work out phenomenal for what they are. And my thing at the end of the day is AMD just brought out cards that are confusing, because we haven't seen anything. We're not going to see anything until July, right around my birthday or at that time. But the thing is, if it AMD, and that's what I told people, that's what I said on Twitter, don't take the benchmark serious. Don't take anything you see serious. Like, scores, whatnot, against Intel. They'll take it serious until we get reviewers and stuff, get it in their hands, samples, whatnot. And let's see what liquid cooling overclock. Let's see what goes on with that.
Totally agree.
But I agree with AMD on the standpoint they're letting ray tracing evolve before they pull a trigger on them putting out a card that's I wouldn't want them to release a card with tracing core until they're ready to do it, until it's involved. Give it, like I told ray tracing, it'll be a thing 3 to 4 years down the line. Just not today. Give it to a second, third generation of cards.
Yeah,
especially
I say 3 to 4 years.
With Nvidia refreshing their cards right now, it's going to get interesting. Because this is the first time in a long time I never thought we would get to 12 gigs of video RAM on a card. And we are now.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that for at least another 5 years.
Well, and they're also pushing 8K like it's something new. Like 8K, who needs 8K at this moment? You can't.
No one does, but
they still haven't even nailed down 4K, dude. Like nobody's nailed down 4K as a standard like they did 1080p. Like 1080p has been a standard for so many years, and it took a while for them to get there. Like even back when I was when me and my girl first came out here, 1080p was like a myth. Like you heard about it, but you didn't use it really because you had a standard television. And
the standard television was able to do 1080i, and you were fine with that.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't even really a big deal back then to have that. But like I said, I didn't get a HD TV, a big old LCD screen until, 2006 when Call of Duty came out. So like, that was then.
And Windows can't even scale to 8K. Like if you've seen the videos out there, a lot of people are struggling even with some of these review samples from Samsung going around. Like Linus and all them getting parts.
I wouldn't say it would be 8K ready for PCs. Like no way. Like
Windows 10 doesn't even recognize it. Windows 10 doesn't even recognize it natively. They're having problems with 4K, like scaling wide.
Yeah, and it crashes systems.
Yeah, and ultra wide, they're still having issues with ultra wide at this present time.
We're coming up with too much shit and not enough time to finalize it. Well, and that's the problem.
Well, the technology hasn't caught up with. I mean, the updates and drivers and the maturity hasn't caught up with the technology.
Yeah, and the fact that people are like, well, what if we make this screen size like that? That's what's actually going on. Is like, so we gave them like 4K. Yeah. Now they want 8K. Now they want ultra wide. Next thing you know, they're gonna want 16K when we just master 4K.
Well, the sweet spot right now with everybody is 1440p. If I was gonna upgrade today, would be 1440p. I wouldn't go any higher because there's no need.
1440p would be perfect for me personally.
With FreeSync 2, I'd be all right with that. With HDR, I know they're doing HDR 1440 at this point. I think 1440 is the sweet spot. I think that's going to be...
Our Vegas are going to get the HDR update soon, where you can actually just turn that bitch on. It'll simulate HDR. I saw that with the AMD press conference, and I thought that was pretty cool. I saw the difference. I'm like, yo, that's actually pretty freaking cool. So,
I think, I'm going to say this now, I think 1440p is going to become the new 1080p in 3 years. I don't think gamers want to go above 1440, and I think they're satisfied with 1080p or 4 at 144 hertz.
Because I mean, if you do 1080p, you get all the frames you need, but if you do 1440, you get all the, you got a machine that can run it with all the frames you want, and then you got all the beautiful textures.
1440p, 1080p is demanding on CPU and GPU. 1440p becomes more GPU dependent at that point, not CPU as much. So, like, until I see streaming, until I see all these companies jump on a little bit more, giving us a little bit more bandwidth and our internet providers do that, I don't think I'm going to be jumping on that 1440p bandwagon until things catch up with it.
My next monitor, I want to get a third monitor for my PC finally, and I'm really looking at getting a 1440p monitor, just straight up, because I have seen some footage, man, and I'm just like,
I've also seen Mass Drop.
So sexy.
I've also seen Mass Drop
monitor looks sick, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a V8 panel, hybrid V8 LCD hybrid,
Yeah.
and those are going for cheap. And that's, you know, I would jump on that bandwagon with what they're saying now. They're going to add FreeSync 2 to it. So I'm cool with that.
Yes. So let's get back to Sony real quick. So Sony poured a lot of money into their design, huh? Right? Is that what you were saying? Like,
so Navi, here's how it goes. Navi, so Microsoft is backing it as well. They didn't put money into it. Sony did. So the RDA technology that you're getting is all based on Sony. So that's why you see AMD really going gun-ho hard on the fact of they talk about Sony before they talk about a Microsoft.
Okay.
You know, is because Sony put in the most money. Sony's been throwing money at AMD lately on technology. So is Sony part of AMD at this point? That's my question. Do they got to share within AMD?
I mean,
Which
they could. I mean, both companies technically do. So I mean, I don't see why not.
And the reason the Zen 2 and the RDA and all that shit that happened is all Sony. Sony wanted that technology. They want ray tracing. They want everything to be available day one. Now my question is, and this has been floating around, you know, are the consoles going to be more than 600?
Okay, so I was going to touch on that. Actually, I'll answer your question. So Levon, as I was live streaming yesterday, had come in, and he had mentioned it, and the rumors, and Levon thinks it might be right, but you know what? Knowing Sony's track record with overpricing their shit, he might be onto something. They're looking at an $800 price tag for the PS5.
I'm gonna get a revised Switch if it fuck that.
I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft did 550 to 600.
I would rather pay for Microsoft at 550.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
Well, the reason for it is they're trying to put all this PC tech in, and they're basically getting a 5700 XT within these systems. You know, integrated with a CPU at the same time. So supposedly it's supposed to be two separate dies. So you're gonna have a GPU and a CPU on two separate dies on the motherboards on both.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be able to do VR, HDR, 8K, all this stuff, and they're gonna have system RAM on both sides. So you know if they're going through all this, it's gonna be a pricing machine.
Wake up, Metro.
And also they're doing AMD's customizing a SSD for this thing on both sides, so you know it's gonna be a lot of money.
Yeah.
My thing is why be so extra? It's like if you wanted to be that extra, you would just build a PC.
Well, console gamers have stated that they do not want to build a PC. They want to have an all-in-one machine where they can press and go.
Yeah, and do what they want, which is understandable because you know what? Building a PC isn't for everyone. Remember when I first met you, Metro, like it wasn't really for you either. You were nervous about it. And I remember when me and you and Shane were talking about your first build, what it was going to be, and like you were asking us like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do?" Like you were nervous, dude.
The only reason you build a PC at this time is either you're getting into the content game, A, B, you want to experience high-end gaming on the cheap. And a lot of people that I talk to that are excited about these consoles, they don't want anything more. They just want another console with better streaming. That is it, and they're willing to pay that price. See, that's the thing. It's like when Samsung and Apple decided, oh, we're going to release our phones at $1,200. Did people blink at that? No, people still went out and bought them. So it's kind of in that aspect. Sony is realizing that their market is there for it. And two, if they're forcing people, you're going to have to buy a 4K TV on top of it. So that's in itself about a $1,200 adventure.
And that is why I will not be buying a PS5.
I won't be buying both if they're both at that same price.
That's part of the reason why I hadn't bought a PS4. And then they did a price drop, and I still didn't give a fuck of enough. Because my whole beef with PlayStation is that they want to play the exclusivity game, and I'm not down with that.
You're down with Nintendo, though, aren't you?
Well,
not
here's
really.
the thing. Here's the thing. A lot of those features that they're talking about is coming to the PS. The PS4 is not going to die when the PS5 comes. Or the Xbox
I know that.
One.
Yeah, I know that.
And those two consoles are going to survive on the fact of cloud. They're going to survive on the cloud. Those two consoles will be cloud enabled, and you'll see people like, some of my friends out there that can't afford, but hey, there's a cloud service over here. Grab this, you'll be golden. You know what I mean?
It's the power of the cloud.
My thing is though, like what Brim just mentioned though, when it comes to like the whole exclusivity thing, and that's the problem of what PS like banks on. It's like they're gonna make their money through all these deals and shit, right? But when you see Nintendo do it, majority of the time it's a game specifically made for them. Because like, for example, you look at a game like Gundam, or like let's say for example, Borderlands was PlayStation exclusive for the first 6 months alongside Epic Games for PC, right? Shit that doesn't need to be done just is done because money's flaunted around. Even though we all know Sony bleeds money.
Well, they obviously bleed money right now where they're paying AMD for this huge architecture that the RDA, architecture that, the RNDA that they were working on is happening, and it's on PC and whatnot, So the other thing you got to realize too, and that is how much marketing are they pumping into these consoles too?
A lot.
Too damn much.
And we haven't seen
More than there
Sony's.
should be.
And my thing is Sony's holding off, and if Sony's holding off this long, they got something big under their sleeves.
True.
They're gonna show, because we haven't seen everything from Sony. Like for instance, we haven't seen what they're gonna go forward with some of their franchises, like Gorilla. We haven't seen what they're doing with them. We haven't seen, some of the future tech, like Last of Us. Have you seen a Last of Us yet?
I mean, like you said, Gorilla, and like they keep pumping out the fucking Gorilla Red Faction? Like it's going out of style. They keep remastering it.
No, Gorilla, like what is it? Horizon Zero Dawn. They're behind that. They keep pumping. Actually, that game is really good, and they keep pumping content into it.
Yes.
Horizon's a good game though. Like as much as I give Sony, I've seen Horizon. And people joke about calling it the someone once called it the budget Breath of the Wild, but it's actually a good game on its own.
I would like to see Killzone go open world MMO kind of.
Oh yeah.
That would be cool. That would. I just think the prices right now are too high for these consoles, and we don't know. It's a year. We got a year's time.
Well, I mean, like Levon said it yesterday. Pretty much with the prices they're asking for, people are gonna have to have 2 jobs to afford this.
We're rumors and speculations, and that is subject to change.
Yeah.
Like the iPhone leaks. I've seen so many different versions of the new iPhone. It's not even funny. I've seen embedded cameras. I've seen the tripod 3 lens with the hump. I've seen different designs. I've even seen the Google Pixel 4 go that way. So everything is subject to change. I've even seen the Samsung, what is it, the Note 5 or what was it, the Note 11 or whatever, the 10.
Do we even need a new phone right this fucking minute?
I've seen 5 different leaks of what the Note's going to look like. And all of them have no earphone jack, but that's subject to disagree to agree on.
I gotta have a headphone jack. I can't.
So,
I can tell the difference between audio quality without it.
So
well, then you would be in the market. Then you would be in the market for the iPod Touch, because the iPod Touch is still around, and I actually like the fact Apple's keeping that alive.
Are they giving it the newer hardware that comes out or what? Because the hardware that I saw.
So pretty much it's an iPhone 7. Which, why do you need to go any further than an iPhone 7? The iPhone 7 processor is good enough. You don't need any more power than that. It's been holding, and Apple's not taking full pledge of their CPUs and GPUs. Literally on the phones, they admitted to that they're not taking full advantage. So they said with iOS 11, it's supposed to make phones and graphical 30 to 50% better and more powerful.
I think you mean 13.
iOS 13?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, iOS 11.
I was like 11. That's old as fuck.
Are we going backwards in time? All right.
Like that,
so
that was when I gave. That was when I gave Brim
and
his phone.
I will also say this: you can actually go pick up a Fury Nano, no joke, for $150 and still get really good features, and it does better than the 1660 Ti.
there you go, bro. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how the 16-core Super Beast that's coming out is not going to be by itself shortly.
Well, that's
Probably
next year.
next year. Threadripper, 64 cores. Sorry,
I'm right next to you, bro. I'm right next to you. Get your jizz off of me.
Yeah, but at a price though, I'm not willing to go over that 1,000 threshold for a CPU.
Bro, is that 64 actual cores with a 128 core count?
I think I'll be good with the 16 core. You know, for me, I may not even get a 16 core. I may just get the Ryzen 7. The Ryzen 7. You know,
64 cores. Sorry.
Yeah. You see, I gotta think with my wallet.
Easy there, fucking Austin Power.
I gotta think of my, my wallet, and I gotta think of budgets because things come up, and 64 is just out of my budget. I think they're gonna come in at $1,000 a time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be buying.
They're coming in at $700. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, but then you alienate what you just came out with. You murdered that market.
Not really, because they didn't say this was going to be made for gaming. They just said this might be a server chip.
I think Threadripper should die off, and they should just call it a different name altogether.
No, because
I think
people already
associate
it.
The Epic
with
line. I think it should just be called an Epic CPU at this point. Server grade, 64 cores, 3 different systems you can run off of it.
Dude, 64 cores though, dude. Like, I'm just like, and you already know that like the Ryzen line as in its entirety, even down to the fucking low end spectrum of it, are fantastic, phenomenal multitaskers, dude. Like, top.
Right now
line.
you can get a 2700X for $199. That in itself says something. That their processors go down low and they're really good for the price. What I don't like is the X570 boards. Now those are going to be expensive as all hell.
They're going to probably supersede the cost of the CPU. By like
well,
$300.
supposedly, with the reason why the X570 boards are being so much money is because they made a new chip to handle all the PCI 4.0 and the overclocking that's going to be happening. That's why you see big meaty fans on the dang thing. And they're saying that the prices of it's going to be like $300.
Sorry. I mean, I get excited.
Well, Intel did it for years. You think about it, Intel had this leap where they were getting the priority boards.
Yeah.
Now times have changed. I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are going to grab onto that 12 core. I think you're going to see a lot of streamers grab on that 12 core because of the price. And I think the 16 core, I think a lot of people that are doing editing and streaming are going to love that CPU to pieces, but I think 750 is a lot.
Sorry.
Calm your nuts there, bro.
I've somewhat become a bit of a AMD fanboy lately, so.
And I'll say this: Intel will take a Xeon and then they'll just splice it together and call it 16 cores on 10 nanometer process.
10,000 series.
Isn't that what they did with like the current i9? Was they had stacked? They stacked
two
this is why
7800s together.
This is why I want to get the fuck away from Intel. I like my fucking i7. It was a great choice at the time, but no. If I want to keep doing shit in the future, no.
Well, Intel's not meant for it's meant for gaming, but it's not meant for streaming and encoding and whatnot like that. More like it used to. Its times have changed and the roles have flipped. That's the whole thing with that's the whole thing you're gonna see with AMD. You're gonna see a lot of people that were Intel guys jump over to AMD.
Brimstone showing his O face.
Sorry, just. Oh man, God, I'm so happy, dude. This is gonna be a good fucking couple of years for AMD, dude. I'm hyped for them right now. Like,
they just gotta get their GPU shit together and figure out where they want to be with it.
But then again, like as much stuff as they can do with their GPU shit, like we were talking about earlier, Windows updates will always be their fucking thorn in their ass.
Hey,
Well,
what?
Like
that's
every time an update happens, it'll just break it.
Hey, that reminds me. So that's our next topic. Windows 10 update breaks things again. So, man, like where do I begin with this? So recently, I recently started experiencing what Metro here has experienced with Relive. Now, prior to that update, I did not have any of those issues. Not one. My shit was working. I was streaming for like 5 to 6 hours straight with Relive not cutting off one time. Now, after this update, after I already reformatted all that shit, it fucking tanks my system. I get blue screens of death almost all the time now. My Relive cuts out. I usually have a pretty stable system after the first crash. After the first crash, everything's normal and it's fine. It is fucking stupid how Windows keeps breaking their shit, dude. Why can't they just... Why don't they just fucking stop submitting all of their beta tested drivers, or not beta tested drivers, into the downloads queue and wait until they're stable, because they've broken my OS like probably over a dozen times in the last year.
Well, here's the thing with Windows 10. So they, after the gaming event they did, they just released 1905 like it was nothing, because they had to bring out the update for the new Xbox, app. And the problem is with that is nobody was ready for it. None of the driver manufacturers out there, nobody was ready for it. Even Nvidia is so far behind with bringing out graphics updates, to their cards. And also AMD released a driver just for it to be broken.
Yeah.
Because they were scrambling. A lot of things just on 1905 are just horrible. Like, if you update, like a lot of, like, Metro's experiencing it. I have friends that have AMD cards that are experiencing NVIDIA cards. I was even watching reviewers trying to show benchmarks, and their screen was blue screening. Like, it looked like a natural green screen on top of your Windows, and it wasn't. It's just Windows is that badly optimized at the moment. There's 1,000 things they did great. They fixed the sound problems, which I was grateful. They did a lot of, you can get rid of a lot of the apps, like Mail, like Calculator, like this stuff. Then you could just have it plain Jane Windows. They did a lot of things, 1,000 things great, and then they did a lot of things that were, wow, shaking my head. Like, every once in a while when I turn my PC on both sides, I'll get a yellow screen or a red screen. And it has nothing to do with the driver. It has nothing to do, it's just Windows being broken. And then when you restart your PC, then it goes back to being normal.
Which is stupid. It's so dumb, dude. And you know what's I think it's weird is it always affects Wattman. I'm not sure if you get that, but I do. I get the Wattman thing where it says Wattman had to reset the default. I don't know why Wattman would even be fluctuating when
Well,
OS
the first thing I
boots.
did was load the AMD drivers. That's what I did. I wanted to load all the settings, everything. And the minutes I loaded it to go into their settings, blue screen of death. Did DDU, uninstalled everything, and just loaded the plain Jane drivers. And I'm going to stick to that until something changes on AMD's end and Windows side, because I think both of them are not talking between.
I want to know what the fuck Wattman is. Like, you say that, but I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Wattman is an overclocking software.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That AMD gives to you automatically if you have a Ryzen or a GPU, and you can do overclocking without. They give you more.
You could underclock and undervolt. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's actually
When it works.
Well, Wattman does work. That's the thing. Like, Wattman works just fine. But like you said, when you get Windows coming out of nowhere, fucking surprise, we have an update. Here you go. You're just like, what the fuck? Because Windows shit, and this has been my problem with Windows for years. Every time the fucking update comes out, they don't just reset their OS's defaults. They reset your software defaults in everything you have. So if you're running Steam, it'll reset the defaults to Steam. If you, you know what I mean? And like each game that you have will reset to its default. It's like,
so if you didn't know this,
so invigorating.
Sorry for interrupting there, but if you didn't know, so Windows had an issue with showing what version you had. Mac has been good about it, and Linux has been good about it. What version you get because it'll turn your wallpaper a certain way.
Yeah.
Now on Windows 10, the new version, it makes your taskbar white, and it gives you a default wallpaper letting you know that you have 1905. Windows never did that, and people were confused. What version of Windows am I running? Finally, they addressed that when you first load it and upgrade. They literally change your bar and everything to make you understand that you're on 1905. 1805, they didn't do it. 1705, they didn't do it. And 1605, they didn't do it. And Microsoft, what I like, what they did with this upgrade, Cortana is now a thing of the past. You could disable that completely. You can mute it. Like, you don't even need it.
Yeah.
Things that I didn't understand, why they didn't integrate the new Chromium web browser here. That was one thing I didn't understand. Why are we still using the same Edge? The beta's been out for a while. Why didn't they just throw it in as, hey, it's beta. Here it is. I'm just getting rid of that Chrome.
I've gotten to the point now where, like, I don't mind Edge anymore. Like, Edge is pretty good, and so is that Chromium. But I keep them, like, I keep each browser logged in to certain things. Like, I have my regular Edge logged into the YouTube account for Game Talk. My Chromium's logged in to Brimstone's Gaming, and then I've got that hooked up to the Digital Fracture stuff as well. Like, I mean, I keep multiple browsers for that kind of thing, so it's just ease of access instead of always having to switch accounts. But
Yeah.
That's what I do too. Like, I have my gaming Twitter on my Opera, and then I have my art Twitter on Edge, and then anything extra goes on Chrome.
In fact,
Well, I have two browsers. I have Chrome and I have Edge, and those are the two I use.
we're gonna switch to Opera right now so they can see what it looks like. All
And
right.
Opera, there's tons of features reason why I uninstalled it. There's tons of features
For those of you that don't know, the new Opera, this is what it looks like, and it is so good, so fast, so snappy. All of the gaming news articles that we may ever need are right here by default, by the way. I don't got to look anything up. I can just turn on Opera and boom. And I love the Opera theme, by the way, too. Like, this Opera theme looks so sick. You could change it if you want. You don't need to stick to whatever it is that you don't want. So you go into settings, then you can go down to wallpapers and be like, oh, I want this one. And so now it's going to change everything into this. So when you go over here, we're going to go, oh, wait. We're going to go over here. There we go. See? Look at that. I mean, that is just so awesome. I love this. Now, I know Firefox has it this way. I know Chrome has it this way. And I think the Edge Chromium browser allows you to do this. But the way they have everything set up, streamlined in Opera, works so much better. And they've even got their own baked-in blocker. And that is something that I really appreciate. You could set the whitelisting so that way you could have exceptions to your favorite YouTubers, whatever site you go to that you support. I mean, overall, Opera has been improved tenfold versus where it was this time about 3 years ago. So this has been really good. I'm really happy with it. Rev, you're the one that showed it to me.
I've been using it for 2 weeks now, and I can tell you, I'll save it for a review. But there's things I like about it, and then there's things that I just go, yeah, is this going to be the Google Chrome switching method that I should go to? And the answer is, if you're into Google Chrome, right? If you're into Google Chrome, then Opera's not for. Like, literally, Opera is like, they're missing features like casting and stuff like that. If you're into Chrome like that, then Opera's not your. There's a lot of features that I like on Chrome that you just don't get.
My whole thing about Chrome, though, is sometimes it's just too damn slow. Like, you can have a tab and you open another tab to go with it.
Metro,
And
you have thousands of
just,
tabs.
I have thousands of tabs, but whenever I first used Chrome, it was always too damn slow.
He does. Like,
Yeah, he can't. He says it's slow, but meanwhile he's downloading. No, he's got thousands of tabs open at once.
This is back when I had two. Opera handles it way better. I can have hundreds. Opera handles that shit way better.
In my review notes, I'll say this. Opera is a lightweight browser. If all you want to do is look up gaming stuff, watch content, and you don't care about the casting, any of the pro features that you get with Chrome, then this is the browser for you.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't care about Chrome.
Yeah.
Don't care.
If you just don't care about the casting options, meanwhile, Edge has casting options, which, you know, their Chromium browser is, you know, as good as anything that's outside of Chrome is better. Chromium is, you know, Google's mistake. They shouldn't have had the source out there for it, you know, the open source, because a lot of companies are starting to use it and making it better than Chrome.
My thing is, though, if Chromium is better than Chrome and it's made with Chrome's engine, what is Google doing to make that shit so damn heavy?
Well, they didn't give everything out on the Chromium. There's things that are missing between it and Chrome to keep you on Chrome.
Yeah, but like for people like me that like a snappy experience, like you guys said, I have hundreds of tabs open.
Tariq,
And that's
did you guys hear
that's
about how Washington State found out? Yeah, I heard about that, about Comcast, but really, there's nothing that they're really going to do about that. Comcast has been doing it for years. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole, Comcast has been really broken for years. They've been... What was it?
No, I was just gonna go ahead and finish.
Well, they've been screwing over the consumer for years. I hope our government goes in finally and does something about it. They're not, because, you know, a sheep pie don't give a shit.
A sheep pie can eat dong.
Like, he's all for that T-Mobile and Sprint merger, which I'm happy about. But then, you know, that merger is not happening because they requested Sprint and T-Mobile to make another carrier happen out of the blue. So we can have a 4-system, you know, a 4-carrier party. And they're talking about,
why though? Because fucking Verizon probably paid Ajit to say it because he used to work.
No, it wasn't him that said it. Was our Department of Justice wants another carrier, and then Sprint and T-Mobile are talking about getting rid of Metro PCS and making that into a 4th competitor, building that company up. But that's money and resources that they shouldn't have to spend.
The metros are already a good thing, isn't it? In certain spots.
Well,
Yeah,
Metro
certain areas, Metro's actually really good. Out here, I don't think it is because it's running Sprint's bullshit.
Sprint.
but
Out here, Sprint. Yeah, that would die in the water.
Comcast needs to be shoved down a peg, a few pegs down. Literally, they've been corrupted for a long time. They were the ones that were all for net neutrality going out to the wayside, and they were the ones that were paying the sheep pie huge amount of money so they could screw over their consumers even more. Like, if you have Comcast, you know, you have data caps from what I've heard, and you have to pay more money over what you pay now to have their freaking shit.
I think one of my relatives had Comcast, and I was young, and I was trying to watch it, and they would throttle the hell out of whatever you watched on their on-demand services,
and that's why you get a VPN
make it load.
service.
They would make it load slow as hell too.
That's why you get a VPN service anymore. Yeah, I'm even thinking about investing in a VPN service just because of all the throttling and shit they're doing. All these companies should be held accountable.
Fios was horrible back in the day too. Fios did the same shit.
Well, Fios down here is Frontier. So Frontier is now Fios. Verizon sold off a lot of it to Frontier. Like, Verizon is kind of getting out of the internet business completely.
Good.
And they
don't belong in it.
They sold it to Frontier. Like, hardcore. That's why you see a lot of Frontier with Fios.
Dude, Frontier out here is terrible, dude. Like, they are the lowest ranking.
Yep.
Suddenlink's way better.
Dude, even like CenturyLink, when they first came out, like, they were promising all kinds of shit, and then people got them out here. And in this area, CenturyLink's not that good. Like, I would say, like, they're still DSL. Still, like,
well, you heard my story about AT&T, what the fuck they're doing with fiber, bringing it in with copper lines to DSL lines and calling that fiber, where they degrade the signal by tenfold. You know, 16 down with 16 up. That's fiber.
I think someone over there at AT&T has watched way too many Theo Joe videos.
That's true.
Oh my god.
Probably.
You know what? I'm gonna give him that one. That one actually sounds like it's fucking accurate.
Yeah, let's put a battery over an Ethernet cord. That's an idea, guys.
Hey guys,
Get faster
throw
speeds.
your phone in the microwave, and guess what? It charges it.
Just put your phone into some bubbling hot water. You'll find out it melts and turns black.
Bro,
It's okay. It's your battery's dead.
Remember I still remember one of his most viewed videos. It was how to double your speed of your internet. And he takes another fucking Ethernet cable.
I remember that.
On top of it.
And it puts a battery over it. And there you go, guys.
Oh my god.
Or you could be like Tech Rex, take your iPhone and, put it in a fucking, a freezer. Oh, your battery will be fine. Oh, it turns into black smoke. Oh, wow.
What wasn't
Shit.
Theo Joe also the same guy that was like how to get the Xbox One for free by giving the 360 or some dumb shit, calling some dumbass number, and it magically appears in like a week?
No, he was the guy that took his LG phone, right? And on a 360 said, plugged it in. There's your Xbox One upgrade.
Oh, that's another thing. These fucking. You remember when Xbox One, the PS4 first came out? I remember this. They were made on mobile chips.
Yeah.
So, are we getting the same treatment with the next gen? Is it going to be mobile chipsets, or is this going to be full-on desktop chipsets?
Supposedly with both of these consoles, it's supposed to be desktop grade.
That could actually be a worthwhile upgrade then.
They did state that they're doing. They said these consoles are going to be beefier, and they're going to have beefier coolers to support the desktop grade and GPU grade chips that are going to be on.
Well, if that's the
Sony,
case, you know what? If that's the case, Xbox.
I understand why they're going $600. I get it.
If you guys ever listen to this, which I know you don't, just stick with the Spire cooler that they give you through AMD. The new ones, they are so much better than they used to be, and that would probably do better than what you guys have in the Xbox One now. So, just saying.
What they should do is do the whole liquid cooling, passive liquid cooling. Partner with Cooler Master, do passive liquid cooling on both sides.
Shit, even deep cool at least. Fuck.
Yeah. But I get why they're going $600. They're doing desktop grade shit, so I get it.
Yeah.
Xbox might do $600, which sounds about right for them. But I can see Sony trying to pull off $800 fucking dollars.
Well, they've already done that. They did that with They did that with PS3, all day long.
Yeah, they did $600, and then
that was because of the Blu-ray drive.
Yeah, they tried to justify the Blu-ray drive, which no one fucking used.
What's their justification for the 800 shit? I bet you it's gonna be the SSD.
SSD, new hardware, running a PC chips.
Well, pretty much the 5700 XT is supposed to be in both of these consoles as a separate GPU, and this is the first time that it's not going to be integrated into one chip. It's going to be side chips, and you're adding more memory, so the cost is going to.
I'll see.
Now
the
cooling is the question. The cooling. The problem with the Xbox One right off the rip and the PlayStation were defaulty. Wasn't really the cooling that was the problem. It was the defaulty HDMI ports that people had to go and resolder. It was, Sony didn't have good chips when you had a lightning storm. Fucking break the shit. Like Sony didn't. I watch a lot of Fix-It channels out there.
Dude, that happened to me twice out here. Like, I shit you not. I was in the middle of playing Black Ops 1. It was like the first month that Black Ops 1 came out. And we had a storm here. Like, it was a pretty bad storm, too. And the fucking lightning hit my house. It was the loudest fucking crack I have ever heard. It scared the shit out of all of us. And my power went out, and it didn't come back up for almost 2 days. And we go check, and we went, and since I live in a brick house, like, it didn't do much. It didn't do much at all. But it did knock out all of my electronics. It killed my modem. It killed my router. It killed my surge protectors. It killed my fucking hard drive to my old fat PS3 that had all my save files on it. Completely corrupted everything. I logged into my account, saw that there was some of my saves were gone. That's how I knew PS Plus was kind of trash because it didn't store it like it's supposed to, and that's. Like, in a nutshell, that's kind of what has sort of, like, broken me with Sony. Like,
well, they tried to partner up with Panasonic for a chip that alleviates that shit. for surging and whatnot, but that failed. And Microsoft had that issue too. They tried to do a chip with Panasonic to make that work.
They should try to partner, and I hate to say this, but they should have tried to partner up with a company that I know does really good electronic surge protecting equipment. A lot of people hate them, but I actually have learned to love them, and that's Monster. Monster does really good surge protective gear. It's actually really, really good.
Them or cyber power, that would be good.
Yeah, they should do something like that. Fuck Panasonic. Panasonic's been out of the game for a while anyways. They've been focusing more on their headphones and shit
And
lately.
Sony needs to work on two things. One is the rollers on that Blu-ray drive. That doesn't need to be there.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
They've always done poor jobs on their optical drives, since the PS1 days, dude. Remember on the PS1, they had that little metal casing around the laser, and you'd put your disc in there, and it would push up. And sometimes if you played that game too long, it would actually the little metal thing would pop up and scratch a perfect ring around your disc and ruin your game.
Well, if you want to go that ways, the optical drive on the PS1 would go out easily over time. It would take a year of constant playing, and I remember this, and I would have to go replace, take it apart and replace the ribbon cable and all that. And the PS1 was the most easiest thing to replace. A disc drive.
Well, yeah, everything sort of popped out. You didn't need to do anything special.
The PS1 though, I remember mine died only because I wasn't old enough to replace shit. No one knew how to replace shit in the house. And I remember the disc drive where you put the disc at, where you would put it in and pop it out at. One of the little bits around the reader broke, and from that point forward, the reader was just damaged. Those little dots that look like little beads around the whole part
that's what happened with the PS2s. You got enough dust on the Fat Boy PS2. That's what happened. Drives would just die and the system would.
Gotta love it. Yay. And
I didn't experience the whole perfect ring thing with PlayStation. I experienced that shit with the 360.
Yeah, that's because everybody did. Everybody who moved the 360 when it was on got their shit damaged.
Oh yeah.
Why would you touch your Xbox 360 while it was on?
No, I didn't move it.
I laughed at that.
I remember how it happened too. I remember when that shit happened too. The only reason why that happened with my copy of GTA 5 was because my little sister came by and she knocked it over. And I was trying to catch it, so at least if the disc got scratched, the whole system wouldn't have been damaged from the fall.
I carried literally with me in the spare room of ours. I had a disc. What was it? A disc repair system. At one point. At one point, just to repair games.
I have one in my storage closet.
What is it? A disc doctor or something like that?
It's a little. It's it's not really that little. It's actually a pretty good sized unit.
And it looks like a car. It looks like a car thing that you would wax your car with.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You pop your disc on the side of it, then you're supposed to put this gel shit on the right side of it, and you just pull the trigger, and it just spins it.
Yep.
It worked though. Shit, it repaired my fucking original Marvel vs. Capcom copy that I have on the PS2.
Yeah, I still own mine. It's what is it? A CD Project something rather.
Yeah, I bought mine at Hastings for $30.
And it's a tainer that you press down and it does a whole cleaning job. There's 3 different pads you use.
Mm-hmm.
One that resurfaces it, one that makes it shiny, and another one that coats it, so it's good to go.
I mean, it looked like shit afterwards, but fuck, it worked.
Yeah, right.
So, gentlemen, do we have anything else to talk about? We are coming up on an hour and 6.
I mean, your dick is big, but.
Well, that's fact. It's been proven.
Windows fix your
shit. Scientists are still fucking amazed by me, by the way.
Windows fix your shit.
Windows, yes, please fix your shit. I'm so sick and tired of having to reinstall all my shit again and again. Dude, this year, I have probably reinstalled the shit because of all the updates fucking up my system.
If Windows keeps going this way, man, I'm looking at Pop OS. I'm really looking at Pop OS just because.
Well, so I already know what I'm going to do with my old 920. I'm going to make that into my gaming server. And it's going to run Linux. The back end of it's going to be Linux. I'm not running fucking Windows. Fuck Windows. I'm so sick of that shit. I'm going to get a cracked version of Minecraft that's up to date, and I'm just going to let people play on it. Fuck it. Just do it that way, because I'm so tired of Windows constantly fucking their shit up. Right now, Windows has broken their system more than even the guys over at Linux Mint. And Mint used to be broken all the time. But they've been running their shit more stable than Windows 10 has. And that's fucking crazy to me, dude.
With Proton and DXVK, with them doing the Vulkan thing and DirectX 12, they're now saying the stats are out just recently that there is more games now on Linux in the last year than there has been in the last decade.
That's good.
And the optimizations are there now with Pop! OS. What I like about it is AMD drivers and NVIDIA drivers are one click away. There's no command prompt you need to do. Same with OBS, same with Steam, same with a lot of the apps we love. Click and go.
Yep.
And Linux is getting that much simpler, and I'm considering.
And you
just
know what?
because of how much Windows breaks shit.
Dude, you're telling me, dude. During the time, the couple years that you and I were playing with Linux together on, dude, that was a fun time, dude. Fucking
yeah.
Linux Fedora was phenomenal. It had its issues when you first installed it, but when you got it working and you fixed it, it was fucking amazing. My Linux Mint situation was amazing. It was the smoothest fucking experience I've ever had. I even tried fucking Arch Linux, and it was actually really good. That was back when you were able to piece it together the way you want.
The only problem I have with Linux at this moment is I would have to invest in AverMedia Capture. That would be the only problem, because Elgato does not have drivers over it. And they're not even planning it, so I'd have to invest in an AverMedia card.
AverMedia is fun though. I mean,
what's cool about AverMedia is they're Linux supported, so it's just plug and play and go.
Yeah.
And it just works.
Well, look at all the shit that Windows has done now, finally, to catch up to Linux. Like, now you have default Ethernet drivers. Now you have default
now they have a command prompt now. They also have a command. Sorry for interrupting there. They have a command prompt now, like Linux, baked into Windows. They've added Linux within Windows now for things.
Well, on Windows, Linux is its backend, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was really cool of them when they did first Windows 10, and that's what we loved about Windows 10 when it first came out. Remember? Yeah. We were all, me, you, and Shane, were all a part of that first alpha testing. And it ran so good. And it was so awesome. And we were like, wow, this is actually better than Windows 7. Holy shit. And then all these updates later, and here we are all these years now, and I feel like they've gone backwards probably over 1,000 times.
Well, what they should do is take the Windows 7 approach and get rid of all these bloatware features that you don't even need, and give you what they should do, like they do on Linux, is give you two options. The plain Jane look, or the Windows Pro feature. If you want.
I was gonna say, I will say this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again. I would say this. Whoever designed the Xbox app, put them in charge of the fucking UI for Windows.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, what they need to do is give us two options. I've said this for years, and you even heard me when Windows 10 first came out. Give us two options. Stock version and Windows featured version.
Yeah.
And they done that with the enterprise. The enterprise version is so good. I said I loaded it up on my computer, but you have to go get a certain key for it, and you get 90 days. I was dude, this is how Windows 10 should be. Just no bloat, no nothing, no Cortana, no nothing, just stock. And it runs more efficient. And there's no blue screens of death. They don't get updates consistently. I think it's every 4 months they do a major update. And that's how Windows should be. That's how XP was. That's how Windows 7 was. That's how 8.1 was kind of like,
But everything nowadays is in your face now. Get it now. But I'm sick of that shit.
That's why
Fortnite was the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way. And ever since then, I just can't stand anything.
If I learned Resolve, DaVinci Resolve, if I learned that properly, Linux is a great option. especially what AMD's doing on the back end of Linux. I kind of enjoy what they're doing with Linux.
Well, shit, dude. Like Linux has always been kind of known as a tinkerer's paradise, right?
Yeah.
But as of lately, it has been more and more and more aimed towards creators, digital artists, video makers, like vloggers. I mean, they're trying to capture those audiences. Krita runs 100 times better on Linux than it does on PC.
DaVinci Resolve.
Linux
DaVinci Resolve runs 50% better.
Dude, Linux, like, here's the thing. When I was running Krita on my system before I got my RAM update, right, it crashed all the time. It was a good program. I like Krita. It's great. I can make thumbnails with it and shit. It's fun. But it had its caveats. But when I loaded that bitch up on my Linux Fedora setup that I had, dude, night and day difference. Massive difference. Never crashed. It worked. It was awesome. And I'm hoping, like, I've thought about installing the Linux, dude, and installing the Blizzard app since I've been playing a lot of Overwatch lately on competitive. Like, I've thought about just doing it that way. Just saying fuck Windows for right now. Wait until they get more stable, and then go to Linux. Do it that way.
Do a duables.
What I'm thinking of is doing something uniquely different. Doing what Linus did, and just running making my system an external system, like that. Have Linux running, and then just have my system believe that it's running a full-fledged Windows system, so I can have those Windows apps and so forth and so on. And just have that as an emulator kind of deal, like through a virtual box kind of deal.
Yeah.
Within Linux, so I can get the Windows experience, and then on the back end I can have the great gaming experience with Linux, where it runs great, and then just buy myself an Aver media card down the road.
Because they were saying that, like, on Linux, so and these were some of the bigger Linux users on YouTube that were saying that a lot of the games that they played that was 100% on Linux ran smoother. Like, the frames weren't as high. Like, they weren't getting 200 frames in Overwatch. But the 80 to 90 that they were getting was more consistent. There wasn't as extreme frame drops as they are on Windows. So somebody on Overwatch, when you're well, not just Overwatch, but anything in general, like, for instance, when you run your benchmarks on your OS, on Windows OS, you notice how there's, like, a huge, like, 30% drop at some point, right? It says your lowest percent or your highest percentage rate drop was, like, say 80 frames, and that's what your benchmark tells you. I was watching the same benchmarks done, but through Linux, and they've gotten as low as 10, maybe 5. So,
well, the difference is especially with Overwatch, you have to run that through DXVK or Proton, and you run the risk of getting banned. But it runs better on Linux. It runs better on Linux than it does on Windows 10. Like, you can max out the game with a Vega card easily.
Yeah, I can do that now. I could do that now, but I don't do that because I'm afraid of that blue screen.
Yeah. But Linux is I'm looking at it as a viable platform. If Windows keeps, chinks in the armor, I'm literally going to go over to it. Pop OS. System 76, the company, I'm looking at them hardcore. Just because they're plug and play and go. They have a store that you can just get everything easily. FFmpeg, DaVinci Resolve, any of that, you can get that right from their store without having to go and do a command line and typing in.
And, like, the interface, like, when you go in the File Explorer, there's no load times. It just clicks. You don't have to worry about it. There's no ads on the front page or in like you do in Windows here, where you see, like, the app ads on the right-hand side. Like, you don't gotta worry about any of that anymore. So that's really
I mean, their app ads are all bullshit anyway. It's all like, play Candy Crush, or fucking Witch Bubble bullshit, blah blah blah, Saga 3. Like,
well, there's a lot of going into the command line of Windows and turning a lot of shit on. It shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to install fresh OS and then literally go get anti-beacon and shut everything off that's spying on you, and then go in and turn off all these settings and spend like an hour just, like, literally turning everything off, that doesn't need to be running. And there's another thing called Sense MI in Windows that automatically clears your caching and shit. Most people don't know that. And the thing is about that is Windows has it so buried that you have to spend 30 minutes finding it. So you don't have to use the C cleaners and the shit.
Same with the fucking window with the drive recognition software. Like I have a drive in my system now that if you don't catch it, the jump of your install, it won't recognize it. And you have to go deep into the OS to make it manually recognize the hard drive. And that's so fucking annoying.
Yep. And a lot of things with Windows, like a lot of the legacy drivers, for instance, if you have an older printer, Linux will pick it up immediately. On Windows, good luck. You have to go buy a new printer.
Oh, yeah.
So, like you're screwed. You're SOL at that point.
Yep.
You're shit out of luck. And what I like about Linux is if you have an older webcam or an older controller there that Windows is not supporting, Linux will hit double fold. And what I like about, I got to do a lot of research on Linux more and dive into it, but I'm looking at Pop! OS because it takes everything I dislike about Ubuntu and it just makes it easier and simple for the user. So if you want that Microsoft, feel, then you would want to go Pop! OS because it's click, go, install, go, driver, done, boom, boom, boom. And Ubuntu is not like that. Some of the things you have to do in command.
Ubuntu is the Windows 10 of the Linux world. It's got a lot of bloatware on it. It's got a lot of adware on it. Yeah, so.
And Linux Mint, I want to stick to what I like. I like Ubuntu for their filing system, Debian, so I like to keep with that.
Yeah, the Debian filing system is definitely nice. All right, so we are coming up on an hour and 18. Should we call it?
Yeah, man.
All right. As always, thank you guys for coming aboard. You guys ever want to see what an ADHD kid looks like that can't stay still and focus on the conversation? Just watch this podcast. No, it's fun. I love doing this with you guys. Well, this is the first time this man's been up to do this with us, but hey.
We'll see him in a month.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
It'll happen.
He'll go play more Sea of Thieves. We'll see him in a month.
That's actually a really fun game, except my AMD card, when it looks at the water, it fucking shoots up like a motherfucker. It hates it. It's like, why do you torment me?
You like to look at the water like others look at Rings of Azilium's water. Okay.
Oh god, not like that. No, I'm just saying, if my character turns and looks at the water, fucking hates it. I look at a building, it goes down by.
Oh my lord. Sea of Thieves, yuck.
I only do it because I'm playing with Jamie.
Take the big L.
Bro.
I would not pay full price for that game, but for the Xbox Game Pass,
Take an L.
dirt cheap. I can play other games and play that. All right,
I'd rather play the Legos, the Lego stuff,
But Lego's actually pretty fucking fun.
Sea of Thieves, it's just,
I would pay outright to play Lego games, all right?
Sea of Thieves, I want a true classic.
For those of you that are wondering about the music, please go check out my boy XP38 on his music channel. He is a great artist, very shy guy. He'll give you the shirt off his back if you deem it necessary. He will help you out. Great person to hang out with. I don't get to talk to him very much, but I try to support him as much as I can. We've been featuring his channel here now since season 1. He does great music. I hope you guys enjoy the sounds. Definitely check out XP38.